Friends and followers, welcome back to my channel. Greetings from home. I had an illness for a couple days, so I did have to take my first trip off. And of course, I got my physical coming up tomorrow morning. So, on this episode of Truckin' It, we're going to cover DOT physical prep coming up. Okay, so prepping for your DOT physical. And I have talked about the physical before. I go in for mine tomorrow morning. Now, I've happened to take this week off because I've been having some issues with my allergies, and I've been having some illness. And it's on the first couple days of this week. So, do understand me that some of it is stress-related, some of it's related to my cedar fever, or what some people call hay fever, etc. So, do understand that, and let's get into this and talk about the DOT physical. Starting with item number 1. Always be prepared. If you've got any medical conditions that you have not disclosed to your DOT doc and have not been diagnosed with, but you're feeling sick or you're feeling down, don't do your physical that day. Do it before your physical expires, but don't do it on a day that you're sick. Because it's got your illness, whatever you have, is going to show up on the physical. Whether it be high glucose or perhaps a problem with your allergies, you got to be honest with these doctors these days. Because every single DOT physical has a special form now where you got to disclose all your details and medical conditions. And, by the way, you hear me having the sniffles there, too, from my cedar fever. Number 2, gas up and prepare the night before. Now, I know some of y'all who are in the truck for months at a time get your physicals done out on the road at places like Urgent Med Care or what a Minute Clinic, Little Clinic at Kroger, etc. But it's best to have a working relationship with a primary care doctor before you go to those places. Because those places are going to have to learn your medical history anyway. And whether you disclose it on your DOT physical or whether you actually have it from your doctor, they're going to find out eventually. And you can get into deep trouble for lying on your physical. Because you can have your CDL revoked, and in some cases, even be taken to jail. So, that's one of the big issues. If you have medical conditions like diabetes, sleep apnea, or high blood pressure, make sure that you have a way to track your readings. And because they're going to check you for that stuff anyway. But it's better to be prepared beforehand. So like, for instance, my body mass index is high at 38. And that's a contributing factor to my sleep apnea, my diabetes, and my high blood pressure. But in my case, there's a root cause up in the brain. So there's nothing I can really do about it, save for just doing what I can. And yes, I've disclosed all of this with my DOT docs in the past and still will in the future. So, autism, which is a learning disability that's caused by a messed up brain. Diabetes, sleep apnea, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure. Those are all things I have to disclose to the DOT doc tomorrow. And therefore, I'll be able to do that pretty easily. But that's because I've been through this process before. Now, the doctor has to make the determination on if he's going to pass or fail you, and this is a pass or fail test. So, If you're on any medication for any of those conditions, you need to disclose that up front. And oftentimes they'll make you write it down and you will get writer's cramp. So I promise you want to be to your appointment 15 to 30 minutes before it's scheduled. Maybe even more. The more time, the better. That way you have time to write your stuff down, get your blood pressure reading, and if you're not having to do a fasting lab test as part of it, you can just make sure that you've had enough to eat and drink before you go in. Now we go on to the next step. What to do if you have medical conditions. If you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or sleep apnea, those three conditions are the ones that particularly concern them and have devices available that you can use to track them. For example, for my diabetes, I have a little sensor I wear on my arm. That's called a CGM, continuous glucose monitor. They'll be able to have me get my reading off that, off a finger stick blood glucose meter as well, since they'll want me to check with both. And they'll also want me to check my sleep apnea machine, which is a CPAP machine. And I discussed that when I was diagnosed. I use the Philips Dream family of products, though some of y'all may use products from ResMed, Fisher & Paykel, etc., depending on what your healthcare provider does and what machine you own. I would strongly recommend that you bring the machine itself, also if it's sleep apnea, so that way they can pull your readings down, see what your apnea-hypopnea index is, how many days you've been using it, etc. And for your high blood pressure, you should have one of these in the truck anyway, but it's always a good idea to bring your blood pressure cuff too. So that way they can teach you how to use it while you're there, and so that they can help you decipher the numbers and determine if you might need a shorter term physical. They're also going to check your blood pressure with their cuff, usually by somebody who's trained to do it, like a nurse practitioner or a doctor of osteopathy. Or if you go to a chiropractor's office, it might be the chiropractor himself. So, any of those three can do it. And blood pressure is a big issue when it comes to trucking. So you've got to focus on getting your blood pressure down. Now, what are some other things that would help you pass your physical? Well, getting a good night's sleep. That means if you got sleep apnea, use your machine, and even if you don't, definitely get your 8+ hours in, and be careful about your commute on your way to your doctor's office, whether that be a local doctor, or in my case, it's a sleep clinic, or chiropractor, whatever. Give yourself plenty of time, because the stress from driving alone is enough to elevate your blood pressure, especially in a high traffic environment like Fort Worth, Texas, or Chicago, Illinois, or Atlanta. So take your time getting there so you can be relaxed before you go in. Now, this is where I'm going to talk about vehicles. The type of vehicle you drive might influence your blood pressure also. Now, if you're taking a sporty or high-handling vehicle, your blood pressure is likely to be even more elevated than someone who drives, let's say, a pickup truck or a full-size sedan. And, of course, getting a ride might be your best bet in some cases, too. So don't be shy about using Uber or Lyft to your appointment if you live in a major city. So that way you don't have to drive at all, and let somebody else deal with the stress. But if you must drive yourself, definitely be relaxed and be focused. And allow lots of time before you get to your destination. Now, you really don't want to be stranded by a DOT dock alongside the road. So the best thing to do is to make arrangements beforehand to get yourself home or close to home so that you never have to worry about that when your physical's coming due. Some states, like Texas, for instance, will give you a heads up. Others, not just states, but other jurisdictions will tell you, hey, you need to do your physical soon. There is some form of notification, whether it be from them or from your motor carrier, which oftentimes keeps a record as well. And once you're notified, that's the time you schedule the appointment. Don't wait until it's too late. Because if you wait until the day of or the day before, there might be issues with the DOT's physical check system, or there might be issues with the national database or whatever else is involved. Whereas if you allow plenty of time before your physical and allow plenty of time at your physical and get it done a week or two before, like I'm doing, then they've got time to deal with the issues. Any backlogs or any other items that need to be addressed. So, good luck with y'all's physical. Hope y'all can wish me luck with mine. And until next time, let's make your best trip your next trip. Keep learning, keep thinking, keep on trucking safely. And I do have a special episode coming up in regards to Sony's latest camera on the TalkZac side of things later tonight. Bye for now.